All right, welcome. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on communication itself. We're going to look at the hidden architecture, the stuff that works behind the scenes in every persuasive speech, every compelling argument, and every ad you've ever seen.
So, let's start with the art of persuasion. We're about to uncover the magic, so to speak, that lets simple words shift opinions, spark action, and sometimes even change the world.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're listening to someone or maybe reading an article, and by the end, you are just completely sold. You're nodding along thinking, wow, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then you kind of pause and wonder, wait, how did they do that? How did they get me so convinced?
Well, here's the big secret. It isn't magic at all. It's strategy. It's a specific, learnable set of tools. And once you know what to look for, it's like putting on a new pair of glasses. You'll suddenly start seeing these strategies everywhere, in commercials, political speeches, even in work emails.
And that's the official name for them, rhetorical strategies. These are the core building blocks of how we persuade each other. You can think of them as the plays in a communicator's playbook, each one designed to get a message across and make it stick. Now, these strategies aren't just some random collection of tricks. Nope, they're actually built around three foundational pillars of persuasion, the big three appeals that thinkers like Aristotle figured out thousands of years ago. Let's break them down. Okay, first up is all about credibility. It's about building trust. See, before an audience is going to accept your message, they really have to accept you. This is the tool a speaker uses to show that they are actually someone worth listening to in the first place. And this appeal is called ethos. It is the absolute bedrock of an argument. I mean, think about it. Why do we instinctively trust a doctor wearing a white coat or believe a testimonial from a certified expert? It's not just their words, right? It's the authority and character they project. That is ethos in action.
Here is a perfect everyday example. The speaker isn't just saying, here's some advice. They're anchoring that advice in their credibility. That little phrase, with my 20 years of experience, that is pure ethos. It's meant to make you sit back and think, okay, this person knows their stuff.
All right, let's get to our second appeal. If ethos is about building trust with the head, with our rational side, this next one goes straight for the heart. This is the strategy that gets an audience engaged on a really personal, emotional level.
Logic can convince our minds, for sure. But pathos, the appeal to emotion, is what truly moves us to act. It works by sparking a feeling. Maybe it's the warmth of hope, a jolt of inspiration, or even a little bit of anger or fear. The goal is to connect our feelings directly to the speaker's message.
And this is a classic we see constantly. A charity doesn't just list statistics about need, they show you the faces. Those images are specifically designed to bypass your analytical brain and connect directly with your sense of compassion. That feeling is what makes you much more likely to pick up the phone and donate. That's the power of pathos.
And that brings us to the third and final piece of the puzzle. After you've built trust and connected with emotion, a really solid argument needs to satisfy the audience's rational mind. And this is where facts, figures, and good old-fashioned reason come into play. This is logos, the appeal to logic. It's all about building a case that's so structurally sound, so well supported by evidence that it feels just undeniable. This is the part of the message that gives our rational side what it wants, basically saying, hey, the facts are on my side, and here they are.
And this is logos in its purest form. When a scientist makes a claim, they don't just say, trust me, that would be ethos. Instead, they present data, they cite other studies, and they lay out a very clear, logical path from the evidence to their conclusion. They're building a case that can stand all on its own rational merit.
So ethos, pathos, and logos, they're the big three for sure. But a really skilled communicator has a whole toolkit full of other, more specialized devices they can pull out to make their message clearer, more memorable, and way more vivid.
So beyond the big three, you've got all these other cool tools. And this is just a quick sample. For example, narration. Just telling a story can make a huge, complex idea feel really personal. And repetition can hammer a key idea into our brains. I mean, just think about any famous advertising jingle. Each of these tools adds another layer of persuasive power, and they all work together with ethos, pathos, and logos.
Okay, so we've looked at the individual tools, but the real magic, the real mastery, happens when you see how they all work together.
The most powerful messages almost never rely on just one strategy. They weave them all into this seamless, compelling argument.
Let's use a hypothetical but very realistic example. Imagine a speech arguing for better environmental protection. We're going to break it down and see how a speaker could combine all three core appeals to build one single, really powerful message.
Just look at how beautifully these appeals can support each other. The speaker might start with ethos, right? Establishing their credibility. I have a degree in environmental science. Then they hit you with pathos, connecting on an emotional level by talking about a shared, sad memory, the tragic loss of our beloved local park. And finally, they seal the deal with logos, presenting hard evidence. The data shows a catastrophic decline. It's this perfect 1-2-3 punch. Trust me, feel this with me, and here are the undeniable facts to prove it.
Okay, so we've gone through all these strategies and examples. You might be sitting there thinking, all right, what's the big takeaway here? Why does knowing about this stuff actually matter to me?
Well, because this is so much more than just some academic theory from a textbook. Understanding these strategies is like learning to read a secret code. On one hand, it makes you a much more critical thinker. You can see how people are trying to persuade you. And on the other hand, it makes you a far more effective communicator, because you can build your own messages with purpose and real impact.
And that really is the test, isn't it? Now that you have this new lens, what are you going to notice? What will you see in the news tomorrow, in the ads on TV, or in your next big meeting at work? These strategies are out there, shaping our world constantly. The only question now is, what will you do now that you can see them?